And we're back. So the Zoom logo, man. That's what gets me. I'm hearing my audio playback and my breathing. So welcome back, everybody. This is the most official relaunch of my Go Live. I can hear myself in my headset. Let me kill this. If I kill this, does it kill the feed? Nope. Still live. All right. Hold on to your hats. This is mine. It's kind of not showing up. You can see I've got some headphones. I literally want to get some color headphones because everyone else who does YouTubes with backgrounds and whatnot, they seem to have it like dialed perfectly. And yet, for some reason, I just, it's been nothing but a challenge for me. So, um, there we go. I'll just hold my hands like this the whole time. So, like, thanks for joining my video feed. I can't imagine that this diatribe of like welcome back after 1 year of no video, no going live. I can't imagine that this is gonna, get any thumbs up or any real views. So this is more of a practice of staring at myself with ocean behind me and just doing a live test. I am starting to ping some of my friends who've gone live in the past, and everybody seems busy right now. So, well, here we are. I think this will be a short video, and then I'm going to restart another one and just start to look at some actual Excel macro programming I did the other day. Um, my mom uses a lot of data and with her where she works. So she needed a macro that would like manipulate spreadsheets. So I made her one kind of like over the weekend and a couple later evenings, and just the code is not optimized, and I doubt it'll get me any winning coding awards, but it was a nice like making something, and not in JavaScript and not in C Sharp and not in Node and not in Python, but good old VB, which is still pretty powerful. A lot of things you can do really fast. But yeah, so here I am going live on chadcollins.com again. And I guess I'm going to share my screen and maybe. And I was going to start a new video, but I don't know. I'm trying to make the worst video on my channel that I've made yet. And I was pretty surprised that I'm holding strong at 111 subscribers. Thanks for all those folks out there who subscribed. I hope you've been great. So, all right, let's dive in. Let's do something. I don't need to start a new video. Let's just make some content like the old days, of maybe 2018, 2019 early. So I'm going to share my screen, and with no further ado, I'm going to take a quick gander at what I'm looking at these days. Before I do that, move a couple things around. And I love being super non-prepared, so that's what I'm doing right now, is being non-prepared. If you ever need a tip on how to clean up your desktop, just keep making a cleanup folder and like clean up one, everything into that, then clean up two. You'll always have a great organization that way. So I'm just moving things to clean up two folder so my desktop looks nice and clean. All right. Oh, I know I'm going to watch this video back some days and be like, what was I thinking? Terrible production value. Um, all right, more random stuff before I start the coding piece. I'm going to say a whole lot. I spent a lot of time on YouTube, and I've got a certain amount of respect for YouTube, a lot of respect for YouTube, and their algorithm is, to me, it's the most, well, I think it's starting to keep pace, first or second place as far as artificial intelligence in my own life. Um, you look at the Netflix algorithm and you're like, how can this really be serving me? Because I spend like sometimes 45 minutes just thumbing through stuff, trying to dig deeper into their listing where they only show me just a few things. You can tell that they're really just trying to media for rankings and whatnot. Um, But YouTube, on the other hand, because it has so much content and I've subscribed to so many things, it's got like a living algorithm in there where someone didn't script like show Chad this video, now show him that video, now show him this video. How about recommend this? So over the years, it's evolved. So YouTube is a trip. There's times in my life where it's actually serving me up content where it's like a proactive teacher. Um, that can be everything from like when I'm that the algorithms are listening in different degrees. So if I'm working on Excel or doing Excel automation or spreadsheet automation, next thing you know, that stuff's popping up in your feed. Or if I'm looking for like business improvement or well-being type stuff, it'll serve it up. And then it's also gotten smarter too. Like when I go to bed at night, I'll throw on like ocean sounds or like sounds of background out and drowns out the noise so you can sleep. And so it'll start serving those up. And then I noticed the algorithm is different on my tablet versus what's on my desktop. So it's an interesting little cohort. I think all of us are experiencing it to some degree, but YouTube's one that I've appreciated a lot for certain things because sometimes I find myself refreshing, trying to get better recommendations, but overall, they they've definitely served me up content where I haven't had to go looking and paging like I do on like Google Days of Old and Google Days of New. The internet today, not to, I guess I'm just going to go on all over the place. It's so different when you go to do research. People have really learned how to beat the algorithms. Like Google says, oh, SEO is constantly changing, but it still remains the fact that like the top 10 search results are often like bigger websites, highly, highly produced, and usually there's advertising sitting on them, no matter what content it is. Whereas, like, I remember the days of the old web, the indexes a lot of times would be much different. And, web pages weren't like so blown out with advertising. So, like, you've just had this different experience of consuming information when you go to do research. That being said, I understand people need to drive advertising, but I do feel like when I go to Google now to do research, I'm finding I'm finding it to be, you know, skipping entire swaths of sections to go to next, 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 and rarely ever getting to the voice of a person or a handful of people, but more getting to the voice of like I said, a well-run, high-ranking website, which content for that is much more refined. And I don't know. Part of me really misses the old internet, and I know I could seek out other internets, try to find different experiences. But I think at the end of the day, as a problem solver, like I did been in my career for a long time, um, thank God my mute's not on. That's not for sure. It would just be like this video of me, blah 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 blah. I really, 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 really would like to have seen the web evolve a certain type of search engine that wasn't so, I don't know. I can't even describe it. Nowadays you can tell that like the search engines are manipulating their algorithm rankings for different reasons. And you can also see that, like I said, people are manipulating SEO, and it's not the same. I mean, Wikipedia does pop up a lot, so you'll get some pretty good deep data about things you look up, so that's good. So maybe Wikipedia is somewhere in between, a refined version of the research web that I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't know. Just kind of babbling. I really think that nowadays when I go to seek out knowledge, certainly I don't go to Facebook for that, or Twitter by any means, but I do seek out, like YouTube, for instance. Depends on who you subscribe to and how you search. The search algorithm is pretty good. Sometimes I'll search on Google for YouTube videos and it'll be pretty good too. So I don't know. It's 2021, and I remember way, way, way back when the web started really bubbling up. AOL was the first sort of big directory enclosed system, but it was also connected on the web, and they had their huge directory. And then others started opening their door, but they were sort of directory based too. InfoSeek, AltaVista, Lycos, just a number of different search engines. And, I was doing SEO way back then too. The the depth that when you look at search engine software engines, the systems nowadays, it's deep. It can go really deep, and you can really go when you get some good books, or you go into some deep pages where they're really talking about the algorithms, not just the how to gamify them and not how to get rankings, but when you go deeper into how the analytics are built for the bots and the databases, and it's fascinating and deeply complex. So I would hope that with all this power, that I guess the summary of this long rant is that as the YouTube algorithm, which is artificial intelligence in its own right, has become a part of my life and recommended things to me that have helped my life, from my job to my personal life to things of interest, that the search engines can get like that too. Um, there's been some famous philosophers on the web who just kind of, like Jaron Lanier is an interesting guy. He supposedly, I think he helped invent virtual reality, or he's touted as that. But he made a speech a while back, and what I like about him is he's always thinking out of the box, and he's not afraid to complain about the way systems have gone. And he said, if search was really done well, then you would be able to search for, coffee mug, but the algorithms would know you so well that they would bring you the one perfect coffee mug that you would love for sure. Not having to thumb through things, not having to look around, but instead there's this combination of advertising driven rankings for search. So, of course, I don't necessarily know my perfect coffee mug, for example, but there is enough data and enough usage about me that, and especially in the state of AI today, they should be getting really good at understanding, personalized wants, and really tailoring that without hitting you with a bunch of ads. Like, you go to Amazon, they're doing a bunch of um, dynamic driven, what database driven websites as well. And, I just, I have to say, you still get, you're thumbing through the feed, you're sorting by parameters, and you'll still get sponsored results. And from time to time, they're good, but in other times, you're like, it's not, you don't know where the trust is, and you have to do even more searching. So I don't know. I'm literally babbling now and just wondering and hoping that the web takes some bigger leaps that help us, as all of us, but any of us who do a certain amount of research into things, it just gets better, because I guess I don't see that it's, the doubling of computing's power, like, happens every year, Moore's law, all of these advances in software technology, and yet search is still not something. I even go to search even less now, but I feel like we're on the precipice. You're just right on the cusp of a whole lot of things changing. I know that about, like, the digital assistants, like the voice assistants. You talk to them, and I've had one or two weird experiences where, like, one of my I'm not going to say it because I don't want it to come on, but my G Homes popped on. It went into an advanced mode, and we actually had, like, a dialogue back and forth for about three phrases, and I actually learned something proactively without having to think about the exact question, ask it, get some sort of response from a website, and then go back and forth. It happened only once, and I could tell that they had, like, somehow the algorithm had been lifted to go a little more natural with me. I don't know if it was in a beta mode or whatnot. Um, it was a moment in time where, after 25 years in web technology, I said, here it is. There's an artificial intelligence software. I was just talking to it, and I asked it one question, it gave me an answer, but then it gave me, like, a response back on top of the answer that educated me in a way that wasn't with my original question. And then I answered back, and it responded one more time. I thought that was pretty amazing. And, that is where I'm getting at, is like, are we on the cusp of a technologies all just sort of having all the power, but not quite past that echelon, you know, where they all of a sudden they get really good? Or is it going to continue to happen very incrementally, which is probably the case? But you know, I don't know. Like today, um, I was hanging out with a family member, and their Amazon, of course, said, "Hey, it's been a little while since you ordered a certain type of coffee, etc. Would you like to, you know, re up on the coffee?" And so, like, very early stage, not mind blowing stuff, but like, when are we going to get to a point where I have to solve a problem, let's say, and I'm like writing some code, and I'm like trying to solve a problem in VB for macros, and like along with typing in what I'm looking for and down and looking for like the strings of the titles that match. Okay, maybe this one, maybe this one, maybe this one. I could actually talk out loud to another device, or the device that I'm working on knows what I'm trying to do, and another device sitting right by me says, "Hey, Chad, we're having a good time programming here. While you're querying that, I took your query phrase and I parsed it up into 7 different ways to say the same thing. I'm checking this search engine, that search engine. I posted on a Quora type website, and I'm actually actively dialoguing with people live who are like competing for points for answering questions, whatever. And it's like funneling me back information that it finds to be accurate, or at least worth looking at. So where's that parallel software device? You know, it's so close. I can feel it. And imagine when you have one of those, and you're also actively querying and working, but then you buy another one for like literally these things are like some of these active bots are like these voice bots, $25, $30, $100. You get another one, and you get another one, you get another one, and now you got a room full of these computing neural nets that are tied into your network of what you're trying to work on, and they run queries too. So it's pretty fascinating if you think about it. Um, so yeah, let me pull up some of that code and start to take a look at what I'm talking about here. Over here on, okay, I better share my screen. Here it comes. Okay, finally sharing. So again, yeah, don't know what the rant was started about. It's just that, you know, the state of the web today, I hope that it's like doing sort of like this arcing, which they say it is. But wow, imagine a time where we can really work with um, work with the technologies um, in tandem. Power of like artificial intelligence, you know, in the work that we do every day. So let's pull up something called Copy to Columns 1.2. So this is an interesting software, and I work with like junior developers or people with like who are maybe good, maybe they're not juniors, but they're don't have the decades experience programming with different languages and getting stuff done. So a lot of times you'll run into people who've only been coding it a little while, and they'll be like, you know, hey, just this language and to hell with all those languages, and just it's a style thing. I don't think I was ever quite like that. I was definitely intimidated as new languages came out, because it's like some of them were so different back then, and even now there's some nuances that are quite different. But the more you program, the more you realize that, you know, there's the mechanics in the languages that you can use to get stuff done. So with no further ado, I guess maybe there'll be some ado. Let's take a look at this. Copy columns to 1.2. So the genesis of this thing contains macros. Click OK. The genesis of this thing is to demonstrate. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna make Office better, I promise. So I guess the macros active was there was a problem that my family member, my mom, came to me and said, so this isn't running any of her data or what she has to do with her work, but she literally has a very large spreadsheet with a number of columns with different headers, which is row one. And, you know, I really probably should just like have made this like a little cooler for this demo, but it's like, you know, this could be like, you know, something like different. So just confused by all these title types. Gosh, this stupid bar. Come on, Zoom bar. How do you move this thing? There we go. Move it over here. So I'm just making this for like visual clarity. So clear. The use case is that someone has a different spreadsheet. And as long as they have this workbook open, they have access to this macro. And I put this really ugly sort of button here that when you, it should fire up the pop-up. We're getting some sort of an error here, of course, because I'm gone live to take a look at this. So it's pretty awesome. It's not working. Let's close it, reopen it. Okay, round two. So this is an XLS. It's got an extension of like with an M at the end of it, which means macro. Oh, no wonder I opened it in LibreOffice. Good Lord. This is not a LibreOffice demo here. Let's open this with good old Excel. Boom. Just testing you guys out there. For those of you who, my one watcher out there who caught that, muy bien. At some point, I'll switch to very terrible Spanish for the remainder of this video. So if you right click on this, you kind of get this button. If you right click on it and go assign macro, you can kind of see it's copied to column XLMS button one click. I don't know. I got to clean up this code a lot, but this thing works. So when I click edit, you get into this VBA mode, yeah. And I'll walk through this a couple times, but you basically have a module where when they click that button one click right there, it pops up in this form. I used all kinds of default namings. Here's the visual layout of it. This form, the usability, hey, could be a lot better. Don't judge me on this one. This one is not a resume winner. This is not a hey, check me out. But this is something that has some cool code in it. That when you go writing anything in any language, you get 99% of the way there all the time, really fast. You can find example code, and then you get down to that one piece, which you would never realize that it was just that one functionality that was hard to do. And I'll tell you about some of that in here in a minute. So here is, if any of you familiar with VB, you can rapidly drag controls on here. VB is old school, but there's something that just still resonates with companies like call centers. They're still writing all their stuff in VB with these GUIs, and it's fast. It's tried and true. It's been around a long time. I mean, for decades now, you could go out and seek out VB6 on up code that does like amazing things in Windows. So I'll go right here and view code. Again, don't judge me. You're going to see some duplicate code. This was not a paid project. This was not something I've yet optimized. So maybe that's something we can learn through here a little bit and see where we would need to optimize, including like relabeling the buttons and whatnot. So now you've seen that there's some code, there's a GUI, and then we've kind of got this button floating here. The use case, again, is you open this thing up and it starts off with this default test data, essentially a bunch of columns. As you go right, that goes out to about, pretty far out to BQ, and it's a bunch of data. I actually labeled one called second to last for testing, and this one is last. But these are not fixed. If you were to open this up and you had 10 columns wide with your own headers and your own data, and you had 1,000 rows in a column and 400 in another or whatever, it detects the longest row value number, and it creates that range. The range is the X and Y coordinate, of how the total range it's going to select. So, or does it column by column, but definitely some room for optimization. With no further ado, thanks for hanging in there. I'm going to click on copy columns 2. So copy columns 2, it is a really, macro programming is kind of interesting because it like really manipulates the select and the cursor. So you just saw there that it ran through a range of probably like 500 columns and dimensioned how many headers were not empty. And it went ahead and it made took their header names here. There's ASDF, ASDF, there's ASDF, there's ASDF. Each of these are unique, as you can see. And you can see as you go down, there's my second to last column and there's my last column right there. So this is just using test data. But I'm making a point again, just so everyone's real clear, that if you open another spreadsheet right now, open up your developer tab and clicked macros, you would have access to use this GUI, and this one actually works with your active first sheet. So you can have your own data, and it's going to do basically what we have here. So moving right along, you can do a couple different things. Again, this was just planned. This is like pre-beta stuff, but it's functional. So you say I want this column, this column, this column, this column, this column, and this column, and you can go straight to copying those columns to a new sheet. You just click that. And so now you can notice down here, it actually put the date plus the time in seconds. There might be a nicer way to format that, but that would be in case you're like, you know what, I wanted another one, and I copy that, and I wanted another one, and you copy that, and it would continue to make you new tabs. So it's not perfect. Like you can see right there, as I generated that, it didn't read selections of the original selected spreadsheet, and it basically just output a duplicate. So that's a little bit of a bug. I'm so embarrassed. But anyways, you can this, go back here, manually restart the thing, and pick again, and say this time I want to just do those. So now you've got this one. So those are small usability bugs where it's like, if I now check this, make sure you're going to copy from master, because I believe what it's doing now is it's been programmed to copy from your selected sheet, your active sheet, which is, you can tell because if I do that, it creates a clone, but it didn't bring the fourth column over because it only had 3. However, if I went to 2 and copied it, the next one should have just 2. Yeah. So you can reduce, but basically I programmed it to work with the active sheet because I didn't want to use sheet by name, but really I should program it to use sheet 1, which is the far leftmost. And for wider use, you would ask the user at runtime, hey, which sheet do you want it to be your main data source? And they could select not just sheet 1, but any which sheet by name, and it would sort of keep the name in memory while you use it. Easy stuff to do. Maybe I'll do it in a later video because this feed is amazing. I'm surprised I haven't lost my internet connection now. Cox has been horrible. So let's continue on with this demo. I'm going to close this out, and you can like shift. So like in this demo mode or any one of these, you can just delete these, shift select and hit delete. And then I'm going to go back over to sheet 1. So this time I'm going to copy columns. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to copy columns. And I'm going to say, okay, I want this header, this header, this header, this header. I'll take this header, this header, this header, and this one. But instead of just putting them straight out to a new sheet, I'm going to copy them here. And you can see that I am storing their range. You can visually see there's A1, B1, C1, D. I skipped over to H, K, L, M. So just they're all moved around. But let's say that this column, which again, sorry for the confusion that they all have the same header names. I was just making up test data. You can move that up to the first position. And then you can move like, and there's probably cleaner ways to do this where it's not just like whatever. But what you can do is say, you know what, I want to make a new sheet so that I can output it for import into a database, but I don't want to have to like delete or modify my master. I don't want to have to keep cloning and deleting and moving around. So I change the order, and you can just, once you change the order like that, you can save it to schema, which right now only saves one schema. So it'll clear it out and rewrite it every time you hit save schema. But of course, the next upgrade would be like save multiple schemas, maybe give it a schema name, So like right here, if I hit save schema, boom, it says schema saved. And it kind of gave you a window into what it created. Over here, it created a tab, and on that tab or that sheet, like understanding like the concepts of work, like Excel or even like Google Sheets, where you're like, it's a spreadsheet, but like now you have a tab with a sheet. So like in Excel, I think they call them workbooks, and then sheets are inside of it. But like whenever someone says, "Hey, send me the spreadsheet," they mean like a file. So the nomenclature can get confused. And maybe if I just reread and redistill in my mind what best way to talk about it. But you notice that you can load a schema. So like let's close this up. Let's take a look at the schema we saved. There it is, column, blah, blah, blah. And those are the ranges. If I even like renamed these columns in here, I probably could inside the schema. It's really using this as a data map where it's going to go after the data column headers and the data matching these source ranges in your master data sheet. So it's, according to my reading, they were like the registry, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna use the registry because that'd be cool. But as the more I looked into the code, it was kind of late. And this has been a part-time fun little thing to do for my mom. I said, nah, I'm just gonna save it like this. So it was a nice little hack. So let's go back in and see the functionality that I did put in. When you rerun this thing, I can load the schema, and there it is. M1 is at the top, B1, K1C, etc. And so you're like, okay, I saved myself some time because I need to re-output this report for somebody again. So I'm going to say save items to new sheet, and I click that, and boom, there you go. You get those columns automatically pulling from the far left. And I think I did update the code to always check the very first sheet, sheet one. Even though this one's called sheet one, there's a programmatic way to say in this workbook, give me the sheet number one, the one in the first position. So that does that. Hold your applause, but hey, that can save you a lot of time when you're manipulating. And I really think updating to have multiple schema types could be great if you have like a big spreadsheet that's got like 200 columns wide, and you need to do different outputs for different departments or for different imports. You could like have a couple different schemas. So I think that would be a value update next, would be to have more than one schema. So I'm going to clear all these items out, and I'm going to see if we can write a new schema without having to close the box, reopen it, or whatever. So just, you saw that we had saved a schema, but now I'm going to pick this one, and this one, and this one. And I'm going to copy them for reorder. It's A, B, C, and E. I'm going to move E up, and I'm going to move B down, and there you go. So now I'm going to save the schema again. And so it did it. So you notice it went over to the schema file, and it just deleted everything in there and just slapped in the new schema. And now it's going to redirect you back. And there you go. Now you're kind of sitting on, hopefully on the right screen. Like, even though I'm looking at this, it redirected me back to this selection. I believe I programmed it to go talk to sheet one to get these data ranges. Let's see if I got that right or not. Or maybe like I'll do a subsequent video where we fix that, because those are easy little coding tips. We're not going to sit here and watch me. So anyways, if you're watching this video, there's so many better things you could be doing with your life, and you're not going to get much value out of this. But if you're watching, okay, cool. Thanks, man. And or woman, whoever jumped in. Okay, let's get back to it. So now we have this schema here that we want to do a save items to. Boom. There it is. Let's match it up. ASDF, ASDF, ASFD, and ASFD. Great. So it worked perfectly. And so we're still talking back to sheet one master. All right. That's it. That's not like, it doesn't seem like this is the most beautiful application. I mean, nowadays no one writes desktop apps or VBs or even macros, but like I was thinking like how you would do this in Google Sheets. They have a little thing that pops out on the right where you have controls. They can do pop-ups. You can do web pages for Google Apps script against spreadsheets, and you could program it. But I still believe that like something about this VB experience made it fast to make the GUI, and I could just focus on manipulating the data and moving stuff around. I should probably make a counterpart version of one of these into Google Spreadsheets at some point, just to have the learning experience. But because this is Excel and it's a desktop application, there was no Google Apps script as far as I know. They still use VB. There's no JavaScript or anything like that. So, okay, now let's look at the code. Okay, I'm going to clear out some of this data, including delete the schema, and just clear that, just cause. Keep it clean. Now we're going to go in here. We're going to look at the GUI again, and we're going to go through the code. And this is going to be ugly because as I got close to trying to solve hard problems, which are very small, minute things, a couple times I just clone entire pieces of code and just like start massaging it. So don't judge. That's my disclaimer. So I'm going to go to view code. So like at the top of this, I don't know if going top down is really going to be helpful, but maybe like using the GUI and double clicking. will get us to the right thing, because I didn't really like label these very well, like command button 12 click. Like who knows what that's good for. So maybe let's do the code cleanup now. So I'm going to go back to view, double click to get the GUI. Remember, I dynamically draw the checkboxes here on the left, and I do that with copy columns to new sheet. If you look at that here, it's got that. It's even got a properly named get values checked. So that's, you can follow that in code. This one, copy selections for reorder, it's called command button 11. Let's call this one copy selections for reorder. And I'm going to kick myself now for like, should I have used title case? Where was I doing it in the code? I got to clean this up because I'm talking and not thinking. I'm just going to stick with just this strange title case. So now we've got this properly labeled. If I double click into that, it's now empty. And now I've got to go dig up where that code was because I was busy talking and I probably lost it. It was probably check if it exists. Oh, list box. This looks familiar. New sheet. Make this your master sheet. No. Could have been this one. Why don't we go? Why don't we pay attention this time? And I'm just gonna see if I can go back. I cannot. Gosh darn it. Man. All right. So I could close it and not save, reopen and try again, or we can just take a wild guess. Copy selections for reorder. So copying selections for reorders here, and it probably was command button 3, because this one gets the worksheets counts. If the thing knows it's called schema doesn't exist, make this your master. Nope, this is the one that actually makes the schema file. Make schema tab. So it's terrible coding there. Let's take a look at this one. Command button 2 click. This one does a get your that's the master is sheet. Notice you can do like sheet 1, the far left. This one's going to do like actually do the cloning. So I know right away this is not the one either, because right now we're just moving records into the list box. So let's go down. I'm starting to go back into memory here now. And I think it's probably this one right here. And probably put it right next to this one. Get values checked. That was the one above it. Here it is. Command 11. Click. So as pretty as this little one is, I believe, yeah, add on control. Now, no doubt, this little thing right here doesn't look like much to you, but I would like to make an hour video just on this piece of code alone, just saying, hey, 25 years web programming and searching the web, finding the documentation to add 2 items to 1 or more columns in a list box using the API, the list box API, add item, and then list box. Finding code examples for that, like most of them, if not all of them, were a big chunk of code kind of hard coded. Like if the item is indexes this, then there's a bunch of junky code, real hard to read. You'd have to be like really deep into it mentally to even know what you wrote. You'd look at it, you're like, what is that saying again? I found a nice clean piece of code where they actually, that's down here. I'm now talking about this chunk of code here. Ooh, we'll get to that one. That one was a pain in the ass to move the list items up and down. All right, so I'm in there. Maybe this one was actually kind of easy. So I digress. I was wrong. Command button 1, whatever. Let's take the chunk of this. I was jumping ahead to like my greatest hits. And you'll notice that we were back up under here. Copy selections for reorder. Paste that. Let's get rid of the old dead subroutine method or whatever. And save that. And then stop it, save. And let's retest this to make sure I didn't break anything. So running this. And I'm going to move these 2 items. Okay, we're still looking good. Okay, cool. So now, moving right along, I got to be honest. Some of the success rates that you have with getting new subs and getting views on your videos are just creating content. YouTube's algorithms, at least a portion of it, maybe 5%, maybe as high as 25%, maybe sometimes much higher, creating content on a regular basis. And also of broad length. They'll put you in a different, especially going live. They'll put you into a different category, and you'll get different traffic, and you'll get those valued, hours watched type of thing. So, a buddy of mine is doing political type stuff or industry and politics, and he's getting a lot of natural subs and a lot of traffic and a lot of hours watched. Primarily are about um, coding and stuff. And because there's so many formalized coders out there who want to make a living, they just like get you to the content, get you to the code right away, get you to what people are trying to learn. They really, really refine it. Not to say that other YouTubers don't in their categories. Um, yeah, I'm just not competing, not ranking. So it's cool, because when the more you have like live viewers watching you, the more it really changes your voice. So having zero live, it's still kind of a freeing time. You see some of the live YouTubers are like, oh my goodness, there's 33,000 people live watching right now. And it's like, that's gnarly. So moving right back to this, uh, we cleaned up a little bit of the code. That took forever. Let's go back to the UI and see, okay, here's move up. It's called move up. Here's move down. It's called move down. Here's clear, called command button 13. Let me just go in there and just you take a look here. Look how simple that code is. This box one dot clear. So we'll just label it clear list box just for whatever reason. And then back to view mode. Now this time we'll call it instead of command button 13, we will call it clear this box. And then let's go move the code there. So we will go get this box clear, cut that, and move it up there. And now we can sleep better tonight knowing that we're as sloppy as we could have been. So now let's take a look. There's save schema. It's command button 3. So we'll call save schema. And we will double click and we'll go move that code too. What was that? Command button 3. So save schema was command button 3. Yep, this one. So let's move it. All of it. And where did it give us our new? Don't make me look for it. There it is, save schema. And then where's the empty one? Bye-bye. And save that. Make sure it's not running just because it'll yell at us. Load schema, same things. Button 12. Load schema. Button 12. So let's go in there. Where's button 12? Button 12, where are you? I don't see you. This must be you right here. That's ugly. Is it? Button 12. I think I'm just going to go for it. What's it doing? Message box, add value. Yeah. Worksheet schema. Yeah, looks for the sheet by name. It gets the super cheesy way to arrange. I just did 2 rows. Current cell row and then iterated. Some ugly stuff here. But actually pretty functional. So like I said, like a year later, 2 years later, you're just trying to do something else, and you're like, man, if I were to save that whole file and like had that little piece of code, because here I am right back for looking all over the web, how to add 2 column items to a list box and do up down with recursion, So let's what was it? Load schema. Boom. Did I go in there? Yep. And then where's that empty guy? You're out of here. And save that. Okay. One more. Save items to new sheet. Save items. Where was that? Button 2. Save items to new sheet. I know this is arduous, isn't it? I think like just only family will be watching this later on. Button 2, button 2. Where did you go? This looks like you. Button 2, click. Cut that out. Get rid of this guy altogether. And what was it called? Save items to new sheet. All right, let's give it a test run now that we've cleaned up at least the label names and make sure we didn't break anything. Boom, boom. Copy columns, gets the full range. Some things that are hard in VB that I know I've mastered in the past, but I just got tired and I moved on, was like dimensioning an array against like that you're going to loop through. You have to like put a predefined dimension. And I know that in the past with ASP and with other VB that there's a way to like build the bounds dynamically or set the variables in such a way that you can like update the dimension based on like the length of something. I failed hard like on it, so I just dimensioned it at 500 columns wide. So that kind of stuff I'll go back and I'll hack on it, but like I'm not proud of those little things in the code. So I digress, but I like sharing my deepest darkest secrets. So let's and trust me, I googled around and I tried and I hacked. I didn't try for 10 seconds. I tried for at least an hour. It spread out over time and I was like, whatever, let's move on to the next functionality piece. So bam, 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 copied a new sheet, still looking good. We still got that one bug where now I'm on this active sheet that if I went bam, 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 it's only going to copy from the most selected. Let's fix that. So the use case is when I click this button, it should always copy from sheet 1 master, whatever sheet is sitting in the first position here at 1. So we have some of that example code. So let's go over here and take a look, see. I feel like we're actually doing something here. So we've done that code with sheet 1 somewhere around here, where you say copy from sheet equals sheets 1 dot name, and then so you get the sheet by name, and then you can actually do like select, which is like focus that sheet while you're automating, and then like you can actually do like add after, that sheet, so it just kind of slices it right in basically into the second position, and you get a new sheet name, which in this case we made the new sheet name equal to this like long unique generated date time stamp essentially. And it's not perfect either because like I just tack on the seconds at the end. I didn't want to screw around with the date time value plus seconds. I kind of, some of the stuff you functionally get it prototyped out and it's working. There's areas you could tighten up. It's like the extra mile. So that's one of them. Just tacking on seconds there. And there's reasonings, through this journey. You go look for the code. It's not like, oh, I found my first solution to slap it in. No, you look around for a while and you find a bunch of different solutions. You're like, okay, this will fit for now. All right, excuse hour is over. So now we've got, let's go back here, copy columns to new sheet. So copy columns to new sheet is, let's go back again. It's called, get values checked. Could be named better. All right, so this one does active sheet name. Notice that, right? Whereas copy sheet from, we really want to do something like this one here. And we'll bring the comment too. And like, there's definitely better ways. Like these are all private variables. A lot of times I use the same variable name, I, J, new sheet range from. There might be ways to reutilize this. And definitely I could make methods that have returns. I made this very like subroutine-ish. So again, all you VB pros out there, you can see my mistakes. But coding applications a lot of times can be iterative, where you at least get a functional prototype, and then you can do all those like improvements where you follow best practices. So get values checked, I believe, is what we were looking at. And then active sheet name, we didn't want that. We want to get it from the first position. And then now it should just work very much the same way. So like this guy right here, this new sheet naming convention, that I should make it into a method that returns new sheets string so that I don't have this in two places, right? So we'll probably look at that, as another optimization is make a method, a subroutine that can be called, pass a parameter, or just you don't even need to pass a parameter, but just say, give me a new sheet string, and it gives you back this very same formatting here because none of this stuff is really being built up from the script. It's all like very generic, month, date, year. Okay, so now maybe we've improved the script without much testing and a whole lot of talking. Let's go back and run this thing. All right, so we're gonna go, hey, I want 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to copy my columns to the new sheet. So I should get 4 columns. Boom, I get 4. But if I decide, hey, I want 5 back from sheet 1, copy columns, let's see if it does it. Okay, now I get the 5. So we've corrected that. And that's cool. I think it might be a little hard for you because it's like, the usability of this is it's like it ends you up on your clone and you don't really get to see. I guess you could read the header names if they have more value and say, oh yeah, I want the date, I want the description, I want the whatever. So we've corrected that and now you've got this. And so like that's nice. It's a nice little fix where it just goes back to your first position sheet 1. Great. Let's clean up a little bit and let's shift select and delete these. All right, what else was kind of fugly that we could work on now that's kind of fun? Because coding is fun. What else? I guess if we looked at, this UI, I think that was probably it for that. The save schema, the load schema, the save items to new sheet. Yeah, let's look at some usability when we load something up and like which sheet it was pulling from as you manipulated. Like for instance, if I went 1, 2, 3, 4 and said I want to reorder these, and I go move up, this is the new order. I can definitely sheet like that, right? But let's say that I now wanted to add a 5th and a 6th. This one might be a hard bug, so maybe we'll save this one for later. But now I'm going to add those. Look at that crap. So I think what it should have done is it should have cleared this first and then did its add, because we ended up getting some sort of a junk fest here, which kind of goes back to what I was saying about the pain I went through getting to be able to add the up downs where they keep getting both values. It's easy to do move up, move down, especially with the example scripts that I found. But again, with multi-column, let's take a brief look at that. I'll show you what I mean. Like this stuff right here, boy, like this one, back to it a few times to get this little algorithm right here. And I had to really understand because like the code that I found on the web was really nice and elegant. It had like a method, one's called move up and a method called one move down. Those are up in here somewhere around here. Let's take a look. Let's keep cleaning this stuff up. Yuck. Sorry about this. A little yuckiness here. Let's clean that up. Where are they? Yeah, here's, see, like they dimension like private enums. Down -1, up is 1, sets those values. Then you have these other like move down method, and then you have a move up method. So like down, up, passing numbers. And then you just have this one clean little move list item. Does this strange select case list index from the list box. And then it's like, this is where it sets based on the case, whether you're moving up or down. At bottom and, oh yeah, as you hit the bottom of the array, it'll stop. it's not going to like keep cycling. Like there was another example code where it would like move all the way to the bottom, then it'll pop back to the top. I just said, hey, you move to the bottom and it just stays at the bottom. So that's the code that we chose here. At bottom and moving down, then wrap around to top. I don't think it does that. I'll have to double check. I don't think that's accurate. At top and moving up, then wrap around to bottom. I don't recall. Let's test it real quick just to see what's up. Don't recall that I chose that script, and I should have booked which Stack Overflow had that because the guy had put up 2 example code doing the same thing. He's like, this one will wrap around and this one will not. I think he just had old comments. So let's see, boom, 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 boom. So if I go like, for instance, if I move up, so you notice it stops. So the comments are inaccurate. They actually stops. And this usability wise, I felt like this was better. So I went with that version. So let me go in. Let's go back into the code because I just love what I learned here. So move at bottom and moving down, then stop. Let's just put like then stop. Let's actually stop the app if it's running. At top and moving up, then stop. It's a little. All right, and then right after, like it basically sets direction. If case is this greater than, then I think it's basically saying if it's greater than or equal to this. I don't know if it's doing anything, but I imagine it must be manipulating direction. I don't know, because this is the method that like. Oh, I guess this is basically not do nothing when you get to list index case. The case is at a list index value, or if you're at that value, then nothing. Else, if it's less than your direction, then you're going to move. Okay, that makes sense. So, oh no, here else case is that, then I don't know. God, I got to read this stuff a little more. Case is less than direction, then also do nothing. We'll have to go back and like these are some late nights where you like pull the guy's code apart and you're like, what's this thing really doing? Do nothing. But I didn't have to mess with this. Like as programmers who pull things together, I didn't have to touch any of the values in this. But this case else right here, where it was adding one item and it had like basically the equivalent of this in here, so it would work with one column. But I had to like get an idea how to like this one, for instance, working with column and also like an additional parameter, and it was working. But to be able to get the second column value, which is where I store the range, the original range, I had to look at the list API and then I had to set it. And so it's much different. So it's list index. And I was like pulling around with the different values and message box alerting and testing. And after lots and lots of hacking, you get the list index plus direction in the second column, which is where I was having the issue, is equal to, the second column, index minus the direction. And dude, it was a hack fest. Like I had to like think about it. I couldn't just plug it in. And I ended up complaining about the API. I'm like, working with list boxes is not this hard in JavaScript. But now that I know the add item methods and the dot list associated property method, then I understand it now. Like I could actually look back and read this now and go, oh, makes real clear sense. After, of course, I read the documentation a bunch of times and tested it. So some of the net gains you get from using someone else's code, then you also have to learn it. So I think I've spent enough time on this, but I'm just saying everything else goes fast. And then you always get to these one things where you're like, oh gosh, this one little piece of functionality to move up, move down with 2 columns or more. Tough. Then remove item. Like I should print this out and make this a t-shirt. So like whenever I need to do this again in the future, I'll be like, where's that one t-shirt I have? And of course, remove the item. So it basically makes a clone of itself and removes itself as it moves up the 2 column values. You notice we had an issue when I went to go redo it again when I hit that one button. So that's what we wanted to fix. So let's stop this and let's go back to that. It was when I was check, and I said copy selection items for reorder. So this method right here, we could maybe VB. See, like VB will do stuff that's just like nasty. Like you don't have to check if something's value, not or has values before you go do, hey, just clear the box. So let's see if that solves our issue. And as ugly as that is, I did it above the dimension variables. I'm just rolling ugly here. So let's run it and see if we fix that one user anomaly where we're like, check it. I want to do this, 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 and this, and copy for items there. I want to move them up and down. But I said, you know what? I also want to add this item. We're probably going to lose our sort. There'd be a cleaner way to do this where I go to add the additional item, it checks them all, but in the columns, if it finds an item that's with a matching, you know, range value in the column, the second column, it would just not override it. It wouldn't clear. Like we have to do a clean clear. It's like before I go clear, instead of clearing everything at once, I would do like a row by row check and then maybe append, or row by row check and insert one in the middle. And that'd be an interesting coding experience. But for now, we're just gonna do this nasty, like clear, and it worked. Let's go add a bunch more clear, and it works. And it just kind of does. It just puts the sort back to where it was. So you're kind of back in like, all right, I got to resort, and you're like, no, 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 I want this. It's better than that chunky wrong data thing for now. So we fixed that. And then we've got save schema, load schema. I wonder if we get an error if I just do load schema. Yep, runtime error. So when we go to do, let's debug it. So look at this nasty 4 count 1 to 500. That's what I was talking about. I dimension that stuff. So load schema is, if I'm going to do like this nasty, like 500 wide dimension, at least do it at the top where it gets referenced by the other methods. And you can at least set it in one location for now until you parameterize it or figure out how to just dimension based on your data by checking ranges. So we'll do that later. Just again, as a learning experience, this application is never going to go anywhere beyond just in-house use. So like right now it says for counter equals 1 to 500, and it checks if the schema, it checks the schema workbook, and it errors on that because schema doesn't exist. So of course, what we'll do is we go to Google and we say, check if sheet exists VBA. Test or check if sheet exists. Okay, worksheet exists. I've been on this page. If you're specifically interested in worksheets only, you can use a simple eval. Ooh. Name as string, function, and sub. Does it return anything? So that's where it's like worksheets exists equals eval. You pass in the name, sname as string, as Boolean. I guess in VB you could do a return. Me, I'm just going to hack it and be like, let's be like right here. And let's just slap it in there and see if we get a true or false. And we'll just do a nasty if statement. So that was load schema, right? And then it didn't like it right here. So we will just do like worksheet exists is equal to, and then we will, what do they need? Like, oh, they want to get the range on it. First cell. Yucky, yucky, yucky. That's hard to read. A1, you don't have to put in quotes. Is ref. Oh, I just am not in the mood right now. I guess we just go right there, right? I thought you had to stringify these guys. I guess not. Oops. Let's see if it gets mad. And I guess it's called schema. So then we'll just do like a beautiful old school MSGBOX. I have a feeling this whole video is recorded without audio. That'll be just be. I'll just put that up, pin it as a #1 video on my YouTube channel. And let's see here. Boom, save. And now let's test it and see if we get some awesome response. First, I'm going to actually copy items, save the schema, and then I'm going to load the schema so that I can know that it exists. Compile error, variable not found, worksheet exists. I guess I gotta use maybe the worksheet. Let's go back and read. Worksheet. Oh, that's the name of the function. Weird. Evaluate. You can use a simple evaluate call. Let's see someone bitch. If you need to run this 500,000 times, you need to rethink your entire approach. Now that should be a t-shirt, man. That's hey, coder, if you need to run this 500,000 times, go back and rethink your approach. How to become #1 on the dev team. Just say shit like that. I'm gonna save that. I don't know why. There's a couple of some of the weirdest comments. Ugh. Since we're babbling here, I remember years ago I was writing some PHP and I was learning it, but they have really good documentation, and PHP was really popular at the time, and it still is, of course. But I remember just trying to find like something to do with SSL, checking if it's on or off, and like it has. And I think you get it somehow out of like the HTTP server variables or something, but it was just being a pain in the ass, something like that. And I remember reading the documentation and comments and scripts, and then you hate it when you see it's like a big block and it doesn't work, and then another block and another person, and none of it. And then finally, at the very end, I mean, I'm literally scouring documentation for more than 5 minutes. I'm saying long time. It was the one thing I needed to fix after everything else was built. And like all of a sudden, I see this one comment from a poster on the forum, and he says, when I found out that the implementation of this was done this way, I smashed my keyboard. And like that just or I nearly smashed my keyboard. And like it's moments like those where you're being so serious and so deep trying to find a solution, and you're feeling that, and then you run into this guy's comment and it's like speaking to you because it's actually the answer. And like I nearly smashed. I think he said he did smash his keyboard. I found myself literally going back and looking at that comment years later just to get a good laugh because I don't know, man. That stuff's tried and true, old school web stuff. I'll still go find that comment one of these days because you'll be writing an application a year or two later and you're running the same issue. Like, oh yeah, this seems familiar. That was stuck on this. What was it about that again? And it was that one thing. So I digress. This guy says use evaluate. However, using several slow methods will start pulling up seconds. As Excel applications start to rack up seconds, evaluate conversation. You don't need error handling in order to accomplish this. If worksheets I.name equals worksheet, then exists equals true. I think I already checked this one. If not exists, then worksheet.addName equals my sheet. So I think that one just automatically adds a sheet. I used this one once already. For I is equal to 1, so you go through all of them. We know the name of this, so this guy's evaluate might even be more appropriate. Let's find out. Excuse me while I burp. So sorry. So let's get rid of this. And let's just do this. Now this might return true or false, especially if it exists. So we'll save the schema. Big moment. True. But let's clear it and close it. And let's, whoops, I guess I should have deleted the schema. All right, let's go back and run it again. We don't need to run it to do that. Must be getting tired. Let's get rid of it. And then now let's test. It should return false. And this is why I love VB, because speed or not, these are desktop applications. So like that thing, look how much code it took to just figure that out. It wasn't a bunch of code to like, and it has a whole lot of built-in error handling where you garbage collection and all kinds of cool stuff. So now it doesn't exist. So if we run this thing, and I say, you know what, I'm gonna stick some stuff here, but then I'm gonna load the schema that doesn't exist. False. And an error. And because it goes into this loop. So if so what we're gonna do now is, of course, if, and then I think this is probably, stop it. It's yelling at me. I think we could just do this rather than assigning it to a variable. If this, then if, and the old school VBA, it's like no double equal sign for comparison operators. Is like literally uses the equal sign synonymously for assignment and comparison. A equals true, then I know you're mad. I know you're mad. You want another parenthesis. We all do. Okay. Oh, God. Expected then. Yeah, I know. Equals true then. And if. Gosh, that thing was mad at me. So then we go for counter is equal to that. Do that. If it's not empty, then do that. Then next counter. Basically do this counter loop. This is all ugly too. Ooh, a little nested if statement. Keep you up at night. I'm purposely coding this terribly so we can. I don't want to intimidate anybody with my VB skills. We'll get rid of our testing code, and we'll just be like, "Hey, this is gonna work." Save it. Run it. So we do not have a sheet for schema. If I load the schema, it just goes empty. Nothing's happening. That's a beauty. It actually cleared out the items, did it not? Did I tell it to do that? I don't think so. Maybe it's in there. Oh, this box 1.clear. Huh. Okay. Load schema. Clear the box. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because you're putting in stuff that you're loading. So should we tell the user you need to save the schema first? If it's true, then do this. I forget. If it's true, then do this. Else, if is it like that? No, I forget. Don't make me embarrassed like this. If you do this, then else. Oh, it's just else. And then else. Message box time. Message box. Hey. No, I hate that stuff. Message box. You need to save a schema first. Do like a little exclamation point so they know that, hey, this is an error, boy. All right, save that and run it. And we're gonna go boom, 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 boom. But we're gonna load the schema, and it says you need to save a schema first. It clears it out. Oh, that really hurts. Okay, copy it for reorder. Save that schema. Schema saved. You can even load the schema. It's the same one. You can even clear that, load the schema, clear that, good times, and save that, reorder it, and save to new items. And that, my friends, concludes a bunch of rambling about the state of the web and a spreadsheet macro that I put together using old school VB. I will be cleaning it up and just checking edge cases and challenging myself on slicing items in and dimensioning things differently than just setting like a 500 range, doing things more elegantly and cleaning up some of the function code. Maybe we'll try one more thing before I close out, but that was a pre-closeout. So if you're still hanging in there, my one user from across the world who barely speaks English, appreciate you. I know that we probably met on one of my groups. on Facebook. You're my favorite types of coders because you're out there hacking away, and we may not speak the same spoken language very well together, but we definitely speak code together. So my one watcher out there and wherever the heck you are, thanks for being dedicated and loyal. Appreciate you a lot, and I'm not kidding when I say it. I've got moderators on 7 or 8 different coding platforms. Our Node.js live group has just gotten to, I think it's 8,000 plus users, and it wouldn't have grown that much without the moderators from all over the world. So it's interesting, and I'm really lucky that a lot of the software programming is done in English. So thank God for that. But we have that other common logic and the programming language itself. All right, moving right along, we're going to try one more thing. So again, I'll probably just to refresh how to do this and return something properly. Let's clean this up. But like right here, this function is being done here as well. So I want to be able to like call a function. So let's make a function. Okay, well, I guess we do private sub new sheet name. Yeah, thanks, Phoebe. It does the end sub for you. So like, can we do like a return? Retron. Return. Blah. See if he gets mad. Ugh. How do you do return? I saw it, and I wanted to be able to pull that off without having to Google it, but let's see if these guys got any kind of returns. Contains. Sheet exists. Google it. How to return in VBA function. Oh, how dare you? Lowercase? Okay, my bad. I know that. Return blah. Of course. Wait, what? Oh, guy's asking. Public function test as integer. Test equals 1. Huh? Dim I as integer. I equals test. So you have to make it a public function, and then you just get access to it. If the function returns, then you must use the set keyword. Oh, well, we're not returning an object. We're just going to return a string. So that's interesting. As integer, test2, function. Okay, test. So I guess it's just like straight up calling it a function, or a public function is fine. None of this private stuff. Let's just see if it gets mad when we do function. And then we do want to return a data type like this guy did. Like he's returning as integer. By val, just return 1 as Boolean as integer. Okay. I just want to return a string. Public function test as integer. Interesting. That's kind of interesting. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's go with the public function. You guys won me over. Public name as string. And then now they're saying you don't have to dimension this thing. You could just be like, this is equal to that. I know this thing's going to get mad, but let's go with this string right here. And test equals 1, I equals test. That's kind of confusing how they like use test function. Then is that a variable? Test equal 1. But then down here, he's calling the function and it's automatically returning that. Like, what if you had like foo equals 1, bar equals 2? I guess you, whatever. Let's just roll with the nastiness. So we will say new sheet name equals that, and then watch it get mad. It's probably going to get mad because we didn't dim this here as a variable. But then down here under new sheet name, or it's like new sheet, let's just stick with the game here. We'll go down here and say you are now equal to new sheet name method. And just to make it fun, we will also do that here so we can get a nice double runtime. Yep. Do we do it anywhere else? Doesn't look like it. And let's move on to testing. Very rarely first try works, but let's see. First try, let's go. Bam. Okay. Gimme a new sheet. Oh, variable not defined. I told you. So let's stop it, save it, go to code. I don't know what their examples are. Like they have like less strict environments, maybe because I have like option explicit up there. I don't know. And then I'll say dim new sheet. And I guess I could just, let's just say it's a string also. We're like overdoing it. I probably don't have to do that. But hey, string. Run it. It's going to work beautifully. Bam, 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 bam. Oh, man. Sheets.add after copy from sheet.name equals the new sheet. Ooh. Well, that's perplexing. Oh, you know why? Wait, no, I don't know why. This one. Oh. Dim new sheet. Hmm. Oh, this is embarrassing. I hate to end the video with like, let's figure this out later because it's getting late. But sheets.add after copy from name equals new sheet. Well, I guess we could like stop for a moment. I love how it remembers your cursor. And we can just like MSG this thing. Is it like mad because I redimensioned it and it's like a new variable? I don't trust this thing. Over here, I dimension it as a string. As string. Maybe it didn't want a string. But you're going to get a string. So, boom, boom. Hurry up and let's air. Oh, we got message box. Nothing. Huh. It didn't get it back. So we're going to get an error because it's empty. At least I don't think I got it back. New sheet is equal to new sheet name. Public function new sheet name as string. Man. What? New sheet equals. You all saw the example, right? Here we are. It's awesome. I love these little problems. For non-object returns, okay, test equals 1. I is equal to the function. If the function returns an object, it must use set. Example usage, dim r is range, set r equals test range. What? Do I gotta use set? Dim it and then set. I gotta set it? Nah. If you want to access the function with a function test by val, just return 1 as boolean. Then 1 and if more code test equals 2. Wait, making it so easy. VBA functions treat the function name itself as sort of a variable. So instead of using a return statement, you would say test equals 1. Notice, though, that this does not break out of the function. Any code after the statement will also be executed. Thus, you can have many assignment statements that assign. Why do I not feel like this is the truth? Public int. So then they decorate it like this. Test int x. X is immediately still here. So easy. Let's go on another. Let's go on somewhere else. Function statement, VBA, Microsoft Docs. This will clear it up. Oh yeah, so clear. Okay, here we go. Function, binary search. Can we just get a string for once? Okay, number arg as double, as string as string. I'm not passing any arguments. Then evaluate, else, and if. Declare. Return value, dim return value. Function, what? Using the parameter keyword enables a function to accept a variable number of arguments in the definition. It is passed by value. That's good. But what's this return value? This is some other value. Ret val. I'm like totally missing like the forest, but for the trees. Let's just get please a basic example. Look, they got return with a capital R. You bastards. All right, we're going to do it. Return. Okay, well, whatever, man. Let's go with this. Return. It's like returning nothing. What are you mad about? Expected end of statement. Good lordy. What are we going to do? Go set, new sheet, return, new sheet. It doesn't like return. What docs are these? We're doing the 80s here. Return end function. Yeah. Oh, this is just horrid. This is what I'm talking about, man. When you don't know what you're doing sometimes. And you're like, let's just try this one more thing and turn this into a 2-hour video. VBA function call return value. Come on. Here we go. Okay, this is going to be it. This is going to be the winner. Calling a function from a sub procedure. Function get value as integer, get value equals 50. Sub test function is equal to get value. What? Oh, they keep the name, function name, variable name. You sons of bitches. Well, that's really intuitive. So we're going to go here, new sheet name. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that. I'm going to double check this. And we'll see if it gets mad. It's not mad. Cool. And then it returns that, give value. Then down here, you just basically do that. Oh, what? Really? No way. You got to have the method stamps on there. Okay, then we're going to go and get you there. Just calls the function by reference. Is that what that's doing? Oh, no, I lost my place. Yeah, there. This ain't going to work, but as we're close, maybe I need to automate Excel. Beautiful, beautiful. Maybe this is Excel specific. Here we go. Here we go. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. Oh, nice. Okay, worked. That's what I'm talking about. See, if I just knew more about the language. So Okay, hold the applause. We'll just edit out the last 10 minutes there. Let's get rid of that message box alert. Maybe we should test this thing with the other. I'll just trust that it works. Okay, message box, where were you for testing? Clean it up. Let's go. Don't make me do a control F and look for you. F is a D dot D. Boom. Yep. Sounds good, y'all. All right. Now that is where we're going to finish. So much fun. Had a good time. Really kind of fixed up the file. So I'm going to go, I'm going to make sure it's saved up. So we got sheet one. I'm going to go file, save as, and we're going to save it to this PC desktop. Come on, computer. And we're going to go to 1.3. There's enough improvements there. Copy columns to 1.3. And in we go. You guys got to sit through all this. All right. In our future video, I will link this file and script in the description below. But in reality, no one cares about this code. And I think it's a cool little script to kind of close out. I think that like there's something like fixing the dimensioning where it's like it scans 500 wide and then double checks like the longest row and creates that range where it's like 500 by, in this case, there's as many as like 40 records, 500 by 40 range. Tighten that up where you don't have to hard code the 500 wide would be the next step. Clean up the test data. At runtime, allow the user to set which sheet is their master at any given time. Maybe it's like another control box where it's like selected and they can do a pull down and pick a different one as they move around. And I think that would be probably pretty legit. And then after that, I think it's good at what it does. All right. Been saying bye for a while now. Thanks for coming by. It's been a while since I made a video. You know, one thing I got to comment on among many, many personal things I share on here is that when you look back at your videos from a year before, where you're like, maybe I wasn't in the best shape, maybe I, wasn't looking my best or whatever. We're always trying to improve. How am I looking? You look at your old videos and go, God, I look fit and I looked healthy. And so here it is. We've been going through the COVID for a year now, almost a year. I put on a bunch of weight. I still go to the gym, but I'm in the home office a lot. I'm trying to think to myself, you know what? I'm going to look back at this video and I'm going to think, even though you gained some weight and you were feeling like it, a year from now, I'll look back and go, you still look good. And I'll probably be back in shape back then. But that's an interesting thing when you go back and you look at your old videos. So I don't know. You make these videos for practicing, um, learning how to present, learning how to live code and present, making basically a vlog of your past life experiences. So it's good. Thanks for stopping by, my one user from the other side of the world. I'll make sure to give a like and a shout out. And I'd like to go live with you on one of our programming channels, and we'll talk about what you've been working on too. So thanks, everyone, and we'll see you. Hopefully, I'll make another video soon. Bye now. The stop share. Bye. Stop live.